Sarah, congratulations, and great to have you to chat to for the next 10 minutes or so. What a beautiful looking book, and I'm halfway through it already.
Thank you so much, Annie. This is a big milestone for me and for Wong and the Sun Bears.
Indeed. Now, I've been chatting to you and Wong probably since 2012 when this journey all started. We've been catching up over the years to find out a little bit more about the various milestones in Wong's journey and your interaction with him, because there's quite a big backstory here. So let's go back in time to 2012. How did you meet Wong?
I first went to Borneo because I wanted to see orangutans in the wild, and I had a wonderful experience with orangutans, but I was privileged to be able to meet Dr. Wong on that first visit. And the moment I saw sun bears hanging in the trees and playing in the rain, I think I lost my heart to sun bears. I also was just amazed by Wong's commitment to this species, and I felt like I wanted to do what I could to help. I asked what I could do, and he said to me, "Do what you do best." So that sort of led me on a 7-year journey to this place, including a lot of other connections with the university and leading a PR team in 2014, which also created an adoption program for the sun bears. All those things of which you've been part of, Annie. So it's lovely to have you here today.
What was it about the world's smallest bear, the sun bear, that really connected with you, Sarah?
I was amazed with the bear. I think bears have a sort of a narrative connection to people because we've all had teddy bears and things like that in our youth. But sun bears are different because they're so arboreal, and they climb 40 meters in the air, and they swing from the vines, and they play, and they've all got individual personalities. So they're absolutely a heart stopper, really, when you see them actually in the wild or in the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre, where they're as close to the wild as they can be. It's just amazing to watch.
Now, you've been back several times since, in part to research this story, but as you said, to take your students back there. So tell us how you found that connection between the University of the Sunshine Coast and the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre.
I first introduced Wong to the University of the Sunshine Coast after that trip in 2012. That's led to the university creating all the interpretive signage at the centre. It led to that adoption program, other research projects, and Wong was named an honorary doctorate at USC 2017. So that was a really nice sort of icing on the cake. And then it led to me asking him in 2016, can I please tell your story? And I've actually done that as part of a Doctor of Creative Arts. So it's been a 4-year journey. And I got to say, Anne, it's probably the most exciting doctorate that I think I've heard anyone has had.
You've, through that time and going back to Malaysia, where Wong is from, and back to his home country, his province of Penang, you've got to know so much more about this remarkable hero who is known as Papa Bear. What did you find out about him as a young boy that might give us all a sneak peek into the man who has evolved today to be so caring and so concerned about the plight of the sun bear?
I learned that Wong has always been connected to the environment through pets, through fish, through all sorts of things. From a very, very early age, he was rescuing small birds from the gutters and raising them and releasing them. So I think it's something a bit innate in Wong's personality to be connected. I've learned so much about the environment through Wong, and not just about sun bears. I've learned about the whole biodiversity of the Bornean rainforest and how important it is. So it's been an incredible journey, which ended for me in actually helping release 2 rescued bears back into the wild.
What was that experience like?
It was rather like being Jane Goodall for a few minutes, I must admit. It was probably way up on the top of my bucket list of things I thought I would never do but would have loved to do. So we actually took two rescued bears who had been selected for release because they were of a stage where they knew enough about being a wild bear to live back in the wild. We drove them through the night to a helicopter pad. Then, as you saw in the footage just now, we flew them to the middle of the Tarbin National Park, put them down on a mud volcano with elephant footprints all over the place, and released them. So it was absolutely an incredible moment that I certainly will never forget.
You're hoping through your book to connect other people to that same kind of feeling that you had yourself by that hands-on involvement with the bears sanctuary. You spent time cutting up their food and learning just what it takes to look after these animals in a sanctuary setting. But then I guess the goal is always to release them into the wild if possible. How will people be able to get that feeling from your book, do you think?
Well, I'm hoping with the book, it connects people with that idea of the importance of wildlife and the importance of our environment. But I also hope it connects them with the idea that one person can make a difference when it comes to the environment. I think we've come to a place where we're quite apathetic in how we react to our environment. And not everyone can go to Borneo. Not everyone can interact with sun bears directly. But we have issues on the Sunshine Coast that need addressing. We have issues that everywhere. Wherever people are tuning in from, we've got people, I think, tuning in from the US, from the UK, from Malaysia. Anything that people can do is worthwhile. So those powerful words that Wong started me with of do what you do best, I'd like to throw those out to everyone. And I hope that this narrative sort of connects people with that idea and gives them a little bit of an impetus to make their own change.
As you were writing this book, how often did you, or perhaps you didn't, but tell me about the style that you've used in this book, because it does flip back in time towards Wong's upbringing and some fantastic stories which really do take us right into the bosom of his family and learn about his mother and the work ethics that he grew up with, etc. So tell us how you ended up deciding on the narrative structure of this book.
Well, I've started the book with a connection with sun bears, and then gone back into time to Wong's childhood. So it starts with the man that we know, and then work back to how he actually got to that stage. But in that process, I learned so much about various cultures, about Malayan culture, about Malaysian culture, and about Taoist culture, about Chinese Malay culture, all sorts of different things. And I've tried to integrate those through the story and take people on a bit of a cultural journey as well as an environmental one. I think I found along the way that so many of the narratives that we read about environmentalists are about white Western people who go into another culture and save the wildlife. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's some, those people provide a lot of inspiration for us. But Wong's story is unique because he is a Malaysian Chinese man working in his own culture, in his own rainforest to save a species that is called the Malayan sun bear. So I think that story is unique.
It certainly is. At what point did you think that's going to be my thesis? That's going to be a book, this story of Wong's?
I went back to front, I must admit, because I asked Wong if he would allow me to tell his story, and then tried to figure out how I was going to do that. That led me to do it as a doctorate, because I could have the support of the university behind me. I could have a little bit of, I was actually honoured to have a scholarship from the federal government. So I started back to front. It's sort of the opposite of most doctoral students, but it worked for me.
It's a beautiful story, and I love the way that you have, as you said, incorporated all these different cultural elements in there. I'm learning so much about this little boy and what has shaped him into the kind, caring adult that he seems to be. I've met Wong in person. I've had the privilege of meeting him here in our studios at ABC Sunshine Coast. And it's not, it's very easy to be galvanized by his quest, because he's just so passionate and enthusiastic about it. And we're going to speak to Wong very soon and learn a little bit more about that. But if you could hope for one thing to come out of this book, Sarah, what are you hoping for?
I'm hoping for people to take that baton and run with it and help something in their local area in the environment. I'd like to see that when I've got children one day, grandchildren, one day, I'd like there still to be koalas on the Sunshine Coast. I'd like there still to be sun bears in Borneo, and I'd like there to be orangutans. So I hope that everybody who listens today or reads the book feels a little bit enabled to make their own change.
What about your students there at University of the Sunshine Coast? How has it changed their lives? Because many of them went to the sanctuary as well to visit it and see how their public relations campaign to help marketing with the not-for-profit sanctuary increase its raising and awareness. How did they respond to being there?
Yeah, absolutely. Many of them have actually kept in contact with the Sun Bear Centre and gone on to work in public relations in environmental areas. You'll hear in a minute from Sarah Manns, who worked at Australia Zoo for a while and then worked in other environmental areas. Chrissy Morris, who is part of that team in Borneo for the Sun Bear adoption program, is actually helping run this event today. So it all these little crumbs sort of lead in different places, don't they?
They sure do. Well, what a wonderful little trail that you've started with your book. I know it's been many years in the making, really, this Saving Sun Bears. So let people, get behind it and find out more about really an incredible man who is just working tirelessly to save the world's smallest bear. And we're going to learn a little more about his journey very soon, Sarah. Congratulations. And I'll be catching up and Wong together a little bit later in our book launch today. And don't forget, if you've got any questions that you'd like to put to Sarah, you're most welcome to ask them. Just post your comments on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're listening this afternoon and looking on. And we're very happy to put those to Sarah and Wong when we catch up with them a little bit later. Now, we are going to catch up with you, Sarah, and a reading from what you kindly offered to give us a little taste of what we might experience when we read Saving Sun Bears.
I have. I'm actually going to read from the first page of Saving Sun Bears because I think it gives you a sort of an idea about where we're going with the book. So this is from chapter 1, and chapter 1 is titled Natalie. May 16th, 2015 was Wong's birthday, and his dreams were about to come true. Yet emotions seldom travel alone, so he also suppressed a sadness as he prepared to say farewell to a close friend. Wong hoped he would never see her again and took a few minutes to say his goodbyes before moving to a safe distance. The translocation cage had been tipped 90 degrees on its side, and he knew once he pulled the rope in his sweaty hand, there was no turning back. He glanced at his watch, 10:40 a.m., then tugged. The door slid open and 5-year-old Natalie dashed about 10 meters. She slowed as her brain unpicked the unfamiliar concoction of odors accosting her nostrils. The unnatural smell of sanitized human skin behind her mixed with the organic, almost pulsating essence of crunchy leaf litter. A strange underlying note tugged at something deep within her subconscious. The scent of mineral-rich mud transported her back to a time walking beside her mother, and she crinkled her nose as she sauntered deeper into the undergrowth, savoring the olfactory brew at the back of her throat. Deep green was the color of belonging, and she climbed towards it. Within minutes, she was free.
That does really give you an incredible sense of the environment there in Borneo that these bears live in, because it really is, without that forest, they don't have a home, do they? It's so important for them to keep the environment intact.
Yes, the things that sun bears are suffering from is habitat loss. They're poached for illegal body parts, and they're also sold into the illegal pet trade. So those are things that we need to combat.